I'm just trying to combat the messages that the liberal left is putting out to young men about their male instincts being toxic.
Sounds too gay.
Well, they finally did it. South Park finally made fun of Andrew Tate. Except his name isn't Andrew Tate, but he looks just like Tate, but he doesn't sound like Tate. Let's break it down. Season 26 has already come to a close with its 6th episode, Spring Break, an episode that at its core proposes a question a lot of South Park fans already had. What's going to happen to Garrison as a character if Trump runs for president again in 2024? And the answer, as Rick says, is that we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Although, as soon as I started recording this video, Trump just got indicted in real life, which means this episode either had the best timing or the worst timing. Side note, but I definitely think this title is just a smidge meta with how the show has been releasing over the last year or so, with some content in the beginning of the year, followed by a spring hiatus, before ramping up again in the summer with the Paramount Plus specials. Basically a wink at the audience while also letting us know that they'll be back with more in a few months. Anyways, for those who need a refresher, Season 20 of South Park lined up perfectly with the presidential election of 2016. With this season featuring an ongoing storyline, Matt and Dre decided to poke fun at Trump by having Mr. Garrison as a stand-in. Fake tan, blonde wig and all. However, what was clearly supposed to be a running joke contained to a single season ended up becoming a bigger part of the show, as it was clear Matt, Trey, and the team behind South Park was confident Hillary would win, writing Season 20's storyline accordingly. So when Trump won in real life, Garrison won in the show, remaining president in universe for the next 4 years, basically becoming a non-character who seldomly appeared. Until the vaccination special, where he was back to being regular old Herb. And since then, up until this episode, I don't think they ever addressed the fact that he was president. But what they did do was give him a new boyfriend in Season 25, with Rick being introduced in Pajama Day. Garrison shoves the relationship down his students' throats, despite none of them being even remotely interested in his love life. And at the time, he didn't even break things off with some other dude he was seeing, Marcus. And Rick's been around ever since. Honestly, Rick's pretty amusing as a character, as he's just the straight man to all of Garrison's antics. Wait, is straight man the proper terminology? This episode sees Garrison's Trump era collide with his relationship, as he and Rick indulge in a little spring break vacation in Myrtle Beach, Rick voicing his concerns over Garrison slipping back into his old ways. The way it's all phrased is clearly supposed to sound like Garrison wants to hit up a swinger club or something, but in actuality, it's a MAGA store, full of people still rallying and hoping for Garrison to make a comeback. Watching Garrison fail to resist temptation got a few laughs out of me. I love how Rick calling him in the middle of a rally mirrored Marcus calling him back in Pajama Day. And this kind of relapse makes perfect sense for his character. Bro hates the idea of being alone and is neglected by his students despite trying so hard to make them care about him in his personal life. And Trump fanatics are crazy. So of course their undying loyalty for their idol would be the perfect drug for Garrison. An unlimited supply of love and attention that he can be showered in for the rest of his life. But as Rick points out, and as Garrison knows, it's a hollow endeavor. These people don't care about Garrison as a person. They just care that he says the things they want him to say. He regurgitates their talking points, and they worship the ever-living shit out of him. Even more so, they just want to rally. They want to feel important and feel as if they're fighting against some great injustice in America, which is why they're still clinging on to Garrison, and are holding out for a re-election. Because fiction will always be more exciting than reality, and a lot of these people have nothing going on otherwise. Yeah, I have a feeling a lot of Trump supporters are not gonna like this episode. Garrison wants to resist the urge to rally for the sake of his relationship, as Rick truly detests everything about Garrison's president era, recognizing that these people are just dragging Garrison down with them. But we see Garrison given to temptation over and over again. Rick puts his foot down after Garrison blows off their beach day, and you'd think the physical toll all the rallying takes on Garrison's body would keep him sober. But when tempted by a Trumpy in the bathroom stall, he caves. Rick catches him in the act and decides to head back to Colorado, heartbroken and at his limit. This leads to a surprisingly emotionally charged moment where Garrison makes a big speech about love and the importance of relationships at a rally. how relationships are integral for people because they hold us accountable, especially when battling against addiction. Garrison apologizes to Rick for his constant betrayal, and he wants to make things right. And of course, his declaration of love fire-ups the crowd and causes the rally to spin out of control, leading to another storming of the Capitol with the use of actual footage from the insurrection. So, if you've been waiting for South Park to talk about that, there it is, I guess. Garrison returns home and tells Rick he never wants to go through any of that again. But as we said earlier, Rick tells him they'll just have to wait and see what happens. Of course, right now in the real world, Trump has been gearing up to run for president yet again in 2024. So the best way for Matt and Trey to address this possibility was to recontextualize the storyline as an addiction. And if Trump really does run again, then chances are Garrison will have his biggest relapse yet. Which is a really depressing way to go about it. Classic South Park. But since Trump just got indicted, I'm really curious to see how they'll play it off in the next season. Man, the day after the episode premiered, not even a full 24 hours! South Park got them inspired for real. I feel like this episode and the recontextualization of Garrison's presidency made me really like Rick as a character and care about their relationship. Rick's other appearances made me feel like he didn't actually like Garrison all too much, given that he was straight up using ChatGPT to reply to his text. But now I see it way more as someone who puts up with all this bullshit because he truly cares about him. He wants to help him work through all of his problems, so the two could come out of this stronger together than they were before. I do kind of wish this episode just separated Garrison from Trump entirely, but I'd be lying if I said this wasn't an interesting direction to take his character in. I'm just still burnt from season 20 in general, and the idea of revisiting a concept from one of my least favorite seasons when the show is on a hot streak doesn't sound all that appealing to me. I guess we'll see how this whole Trump situation unfolds before season 27 starts up next year, but all I can ask for is that the show doesn't give the subplot too much focus. I think just one episode to follow up on it like they did here would be enough. But all of that was just the A-plot for the episode. Now it's time to touch on the B-plot, which was centered around Stan and Randy's spring break.
You get my wallet from the upstairs?
Yeah, as soon as we're done with the psycher phase, I have 5 psycher units.
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing.
Sharon and Shelly head to Santa Fe for spring break, while Randy and Stan stay behind. And Randy wants to get wild on spring break.
Spring break, spring break, spring break!
Unsurprisingly, Stan just wants to take it easy and play Warhammer 40k for the entirety of his break, which upsets Randy because he's been going through a 23-season midlife crisis and wants to party like a frat boy. So Randy tries to spin this as his son being unknowingly dragged down by society, and that the woke mob wants to suppress their masculine urges. And you know, it's not that his son is a 10-year-old elementary schooler who just wants to play miniature war games with his friends.
Convinced you that your natural, innate male desires are toxic.
Bro, who put Randy onto Hamza videos? Is he a Jeffrey or an Adonis? Let us know in the comments down below. Randy tries to awaken the party animal within Stan and Tolkein by throwing a rager and showering them with strippers, provided by the infamous Romanian sex trafficker, not Andrew Tate. Yeah, again, he looks just like Andrew Tate, cigar, luxury brand jacket and all. But he has a generic accent, limited English vocabulary, and is named Alonzo Fininsky?
That's Alonzo Fininsky, the Romanian sex trafficker!
He's only in 2 scenes, the second of which sees him get in a shootout with the police. The similarities to Tate really end with his design and occupation. Now, I made a video a few weeks ago that absolutely bombed, pitching episode ideas. And in that video, I said that I couldn't see South Park doing an entire episode around Tate, and that something along the lines of Cartman starting an influencer course and dressing up like Tate would be way more fitting. And honestly, I still think that would have been better. Having Walmart Tate here felt like Matt and Trey really couldn't have cared less about the guy, but saw the buttload of requests for an episode on him. But in the process, I feel like they lost everything that would have made Tate entertaining to parody. I'm glad they decided to meet people halfway by having a Tate-esque character pop in during the episode, but it left a lot to be desired. However, given that this current era of South Park has had a knack for bringing seemingly one-off characters or groups back for at least an episode or two, like with the Realtor Agency or the Little Cuties, I wouldn't be surprised if Alonzo Tate makes a comeback in this year's Paramount specials or season 27, especially if Tate gets free from prison or officially charged while we enter this little spring hiatus. But yeah, while I enjoyed this subplot, there's no denying that it was a little half-baked. With respect, this episode was definitely one where their quick turnaround schedule worked a little against them rather than for them. They definitely cut corners on the production side of things, as all the Warhammer figures were live action, alongside the footage of the insurrection saving some time on animation. Hell, even the cops at the end of that bit were imposed on top of a photo of the White House. Don't get me wrong, that in itself creates a little bit of comedy for me. I don't know, South Park mixing mediums will always amuse me, but they just use these same techniques in Japanese Toilet, which was another episode fans felt was a little half-baked. The jokes here could have been a bit sharper as well. This season making Randy the character who's caught up in the culture war is a funny idea on its own, but that felt like the only joke in the entire B story. I feel like they could have got some great gags out of the strippers also being into Warhammer, leaving Randy dumbfounded. I did enjoy seeing Randy and Steve interact and be civil with each other after Randy declared war on Credigree last season. Randy trying to convince Steve that this generation is soft thanks to the idea of toxic masculinity, only for Steven to basically have the same reaction as Stan and Tolkein. There's apparently been discourse lately between new South Park fans and old South Park fans, which is a video all on its own. And how Randy was acting here definitely reminded me of some things I've seen online. This season definitely dialed back on the integrity stuff quite a bit, which I think was necessary. I'd take goofy, immature Randy over integrity. My entire personality is weed Randy any day. And that comes from someone who loves the green. All in all, this episode was solid, but the Garrison story definitely outshined the Randy story. That one just needed another draft. Not the greatest season finale, but I feel like they treat the Paramount specials more like season finales or special events at this point. And I mean, they basically are. And with that, season 26 comes to a close. All things considered, this was still one of my favorite seasons in a while. It's on the same level as season 25 for me. The show definitely needs to keep up this format of being mainly episodic, while incorporating a lot of the show's history into its stories. Dick and Boz is probably my favorite of the season, just because Butters and Kenny are two of my favorite characters, and in my opinion it did the best job of incorporating current events into a character-driven story. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I would love to hear yours. What do you think of Spring Break? What do you think of Season 26? What was your favorite episode from The Batch? Let us know in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going by giving us a follow at Roundtable Vids and at OffShockBox on Instagram and Twitter. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!